Alright guys, buckle up, because today we're going to go deep. Not 5 years deep, not 10 years deep. We're going 40 years deep into Microsoft Linux war. We've been hearing a lot of talk about how Microsoft now loves Linux and they came out with their own Linux distro and all that kind of fun stuff. But here's the thing. If you think Microsoft suddenly changed their mind in 2026 when they shipped their own Linux distro, no. This story started long before Ballmer called Linux a cancer, long before Windows 95, long before the browser wars. This goes back to the very roots of personal computers, and the part nobody talks about. Microsoft has been fighting open systems since 1980, and open systems have been quietly winning the entire time. Let's roll the timeline, shall we? Before Windows existed, before MS-DOS existed, the world ran on CP/M, created by Digital Research, and it was the dominant OS. It was the open-ish and flexible. It was the backbone of early computing. Microsoft didn't invent DOS, but bought QDOS, a quick and dirty clone of CP/M, slapped their name on it, and shipped it as MS-DOS. The Digital Research responded with Dr. DOS, better, cheaper, more secure, fully compatible. Microsoft panicked. They hid the secret AARD, hard code, warnings inside Windows 3.1 to make Dr. DOS look broken, even though it wasn't. This was Microsoft's first war against an open competitor, and it sets the pattern for the next 40 years. MINIX, the birth of Linux, 1987 to 1991. Meanwhile, Microsoft was fighting Dr. DOS. Something else was happening in the universe. Andrew Tannenbaum called MINIX a tiny UNIX, like teaching OS. Students used to learn how real operating systems worked. One of those students was Linus Torvalds. MINIX inspired Linux. GUN tools completed it. And suddenly the world had a free-to-use Unix-like OS that anyone could build on. This is the moment the future quietly shifted. Every major early internet technology ran on Unix or Linux. Apache, DNS Bind, SendMail, FTP, IRC, Usenet. Microsoft wasn't even in the room. The internet was built on open systems. The web was built on open systems. Secure standards were built on open systems. Linux wasn't just an OS. It was the foundation of the modern world. This is the dark part almost nobody remembers. Internal Microsoft memos leaked. Halloween document admitted Linux was technically superior. Open source was a threat. Microsoft planned to embrace, extend, and extinguish open standards. They feared losing control of the software ecosystem. This was the moment Microsoft realized Linux wasn't a hobby, it was a revolution. And that was in 1998. 2001, Ballmer called Linux a cancer. This wasn't random. It was fear. Linux was dominating servers. Linux was powering the internet. Linux was eating enterprise markets. Microsoft saw the writing on the wall. This was the scream before the fall. Chrome and Android, the browser OS era. Chrome launched in 2008. ChromeOS launched in 2011. This is the moment of the OS. The OS moved into the browser. Android, Linux, ChromeOS, Linux, every phone, Linux, every smart device, Linux. The consumer OS war quietly ended in 2011 and nobody noticed. Here's the part that really forced Microsoft's hand. Azure became Microsoft's main business, and guess what? Azure runs on Linux, mostly Linux, overwhelmingly Linux. Container Linux, network stack Linux, security appliance Linux, AI workload Linux. Microsoft didn't love Linux. They loved cloud revenue. And cloud revenue required Linux. Windows 11 shipped with the Linux kernel. WSL2 wasn't a toy, it was a real Linux kernel maintained by Microsoft. Millions of Windows machines were suddenly running Linux under the hood. This was a quiet admission. Linux won. 2026, Microsoft owns a Linux distro. And now we arrive at Facebook post that I been reading for the last week, reacting to Microsoft calling Linux a cancer in 2001. In 2026, they shipped their own distro. Why? Because ARM is the future. x86 is fading. Windows 11 26H1 basically requires ARM. ARM mobile architecture. Mobile architecture Linux heritage. Azure Linux, Edge, Chromium Linux-based engine. Android app on Windows is a Linux container. Microsoft didn't change their mind. The world changed their infrastructure, and Linux won. So yeah, if you're shocked Microsoft shipped Linux in 2026, you missed the last 40 years. It wasn't a sudden flip. This was a slow surrender. Open systems appeared, Microsoft fought them. Open systems win, Microsoft adopts them. Dr. DOS lost the battle. Linux won the war. And now Microsoft is finally admitting it. That's the story. Like, follow, and subscribe. We get more.